This is so much.
It's a lot.
There are like moments where you're like, this is just normal. It's just normal. And then there are moments where you're like, wait a minute, this is so much extra than anybody would ever have to think about.
Mentally, like if he's nervous and worried about like the craft that we're doing because it's an egg carton and he's allergic to eggs, which he's not anymore, but you know what I mean? Like, then he's not going to have the same experience or opportunity as the kid next to him who has no care in the world about the egg carton. Make sure you're using words like life-threatening.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The word life-threatening is what tips it over from being like, oh, haha, what I saw in that movie once.
Right.
To, somebody, this would be on me if worse happened? Like, absolutely. Tell me more.
Hi. Hello. And welcome to EpiPod.
Sarah is a mom to 2 little boys with food allergies.
And Danielle has navigated life-threatening allergies her entire life.
Living with an invisible health condition is so isolating.
The fear and the anxiety.
Trying to cover it up so you don't affect anybody else.
Especially your kids. Sound familiar?
Join us on the couch and take a load off with people who just get it.
We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to EpiPod.
Presented by Lorissa's Kitchen.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Danielle.
It's been so long.
It's been so long since we've been in the studio, and I'm so glad to be back.
I know. I'm not sure if you guys could catch on from our other social media, but both of us have been gallivanting. We have been traveling and running amok.
Yes.
And so we pre-recorded a bunch of things, and now we're back.
Yeah, we're pretty caught up. In this episode, since it's a part 2 to our back to school episode, is actually going to be like a quick little turnaround. So this is like real time. If you're listening, then this all is just happening just now. We're just catching up.
You're in the studio with us.
Yes.
Aww.
So you went on a big trip to Cabo with your friends.
I did.
Right? And then back home to El Paso. Mm-hmm. But this wasn't just a trip. I mean, I feel like for you, this was a kind of like a pivotal life-changing kind of moment.
Yeah.
Because you did some things you haven't done in a long time. Tell me about it.
Yeah, that sounds dramatic, but it totally is. And I was talking to my therapist about it, and she was like, okay, we need to snowball effect this. Like, you need to carry this on. Like, this is a major turning point for you. I feel, we've talked at length before, the pandemic and food challenges and the black mold. Like, I've been through a lot since moving to Austin, and it has, I think, more than I realized, affected me, and just my high level of cortisol. My eye twitches as I say that. But I had one of my, like, I would say closer friends in Austin. I've only known her for about a year, but we have a book club together. We hang out all the time, but she only knows me in the context of Austin, and she only knows me post starting OIT. So she has no context of who I was before. And she messaged me when I was in Cabo, or maybe it was like the day I was flying home, and she was like, I don't know this person. Can you bring her back to Austin?
Yeah.
And I said that, I was like laughing, and I was sitting next to my friend whose birthday it was. And I told her, and I told a couple of other really close friends who have known me since I was 18, 19, back in LA, back in college, back before any sort of accident, before I even knew I needed to carry an EpiPen. And I shared that with some of those girls, and they were like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, this is exactly who you are. Like, of course you're the girl who wants to stay up till 4 a.m. Like, of course you're the girl who wants to go to these random hole in the wall places and dance on the tables. Like, of course. Like, what do you mean? Of course you're the girl who eats out in different countries.
Yeah.
And I don't think I realized how far away I have traversed from myself.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was only there for 4 days, but I got to like unzip this skin that has been clinging to me of like anxiety and constantly being focused on my health, whether it was pandemic and then treatment and food challenge era that I've been in. But I think it's really affected me more than I was aware. And so I had the privilege to just unzip it. Like, it was just like a terrible outfit, and I got to like shed it.
Do you think it was being with, and in case somebody doesn't follow you on social media, I mean, what we're talking about is that you went to Cabo and you actually like ate at restaurants and was able to kind of like be and, you know, hang with everybody despite food allergies, which is something that in Austin you've been very much like not doing. You've been eating before you go out, which I'm not saying you still won't do. I mean, of course, there'll be situations where you need to do that or want to do that, but like you, for the most part, integrated kind of like back into
who I used to
society
be.
and like how you used to operate.
Yeah. So it was a villa. There was 17 of us, but I think, so her mom and her mom's best friend were staying at a resort a good ways away, actually. So I think there was 15 of us in the villa, and it was a bunch of couples and then a bunch of single girlies, and it was so fun. I honestly felt like I was in a reality TV show. But yeah, like, there were times that I chose not to eat. Like, I brought a full on suitcase filled with safe snacks and food, and
#allergy life.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I got cheese and spinach ravioli through. I got cold cuts through, like
Nice.
customs. I mean, you look at me, I look like a baby sheep, especially when I'm sleep deprived and it's 6 a.m. I'm like, hola. So they didn't even check my bags. I don't know if we can do an episode on like how to travel internationally.
I think that's a good idea.
I did do some of the things that I've always done before this, I don't even know what to call it. Era makes it sound fun because it's Taylor Swift coded, because this is not fun at all. But yeah, my mom has this saying that she always told me growing up, and I think she was referring to more like weed.
Like pot.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, or like, you can just imagine teenage things.
Okay.
Where she was talking about, this is so graphic. Like, why would you tell a child this? But I digress. A toad. Like, you imagine like a frog and like a boiling pot of water on a stove.
Yeah.
And if you throw the toad in the boiling pot of water, it like, holy cow, and it leaps right out. But if you put the toad in a really nice little pot with a lily pad and then you slowly heat it up to boiling point, it will boil to death. And she's like, don't be the frog that just gets so used to it that it doesn't even know that it's being boiled alive. Like, don't hang around these people and it feels like a little strange but normal, and then more normal and totally normal, and then before you know it, like, you've derailed.
Right.
And I feel like I never related to that because I've always been 35 years old. Like, as a kindergartner, I was a 35-year-old woman.
Yeah.
So I was like, you have no worries about this frog, Mom. But I think I got boiled alive the past handful of years, and I didn't even know it until I went to Cabo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry. I really missed myself. It feels like I like visited my best friend from camp, and like I haven't seen her all year. And I was like, oh my gosh, there you are. It was so needed. I thought I was through crying about this, but apparently not.
I bring it out in you, I guess.
Yeah.
EpiPod does.
Yeah.
But they're good tears.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I'm just going to collect myself for a second. Yeah, okay, the good parts. It was all good. Like, we went to this really fancy resort, and it was like farm to table, and I had what everybody else was eating, and they accommodated. I was scared about doing family style. Like, I don't know what they've eaten. Like, everybody's forks are in their mouths, and then they're in the food. So I told the waiter, like, is there any way you could just like bring my plate like already done? And like, I don't know what dragon sauce is. Can you put no dragon sauce on there? Like, all of their like fancy menu things. But I was eating everything that everybody else was. Like, I was on the catamaran. Like, honestly, a wine helps. But like, talked to the boat guy, and I told him, and he understood. And I don't know if he understood the gravity of it, but he was like, oh, we have no nuts on here. Like, don't worry. And there was this one point where we like jump off of the boat, and we like swam ashore to this really beautiful little cove.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. His name was Sergio. He like comes on a little like stand-up paddleboard with a cooler, and he's making everybody like literally palomas and margaritas.
Nice.
Like, as we're in the water. And I'm like, who's manning the boat?
Hope the anchor's down.
Yeah. And I don't like hard alcohol. Like, it just doesn't make me feel good. I'm not a beer person either. So I'm only a wine person. And he like popped the wine out, and he was like, I brought the wine.
Aww.
And like, I feel like Austin, Danielle would be like, oh, no, thank you. Like, that's okay. Because in my head, I'm like, what was in that cooler before? Like, did he use the clean Solo cups, or like, maybe those are like, what if he was eating a snack and then he touched the Solo cup, and I'm on a boat, and my EpiPen is on the boat, but now I'm on this cove. Like, I would have spun out. Yeah. Granted, this is after a couple glasses of wine, but I was like, whatever. And I like shotgunned a glass of white wine and like went snorkeling. Like, it was so nice to be who I have been my whole life. Yeah. With an allergy, not who I have been the past 4 years with an allergy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. I'm so happy for you and so proud that you took that step, because I mean, you could have stayed right where you have been, you know, like that was a possibility. But I think it's probably like a combo of things. Like yes, you may have been with like old friends, you were like injected with this like adventure moment. And then also the fact that like, you know, that you are more protected. Like even if your anxiety doesn't like want yourself to believe it, you know, like you have been working your ass off in treatment to get to a point where like you actually are safer to be with around peanuts. Things. You actually can be closer and cross contact with peanuts. Like, yeah, that is true. Yeah. That is a fact.
I definitely was spinning out. Like there were definitely allergy moments. Like there was a chef who came and cooked for us, and apparently it was really delicious. I ate the cheese ravioli because the pans looked like they had cooked things a million times over. Yeah. I was like, I can't see the stainless steel under whatever, like the stuff that was there before, like overthinking it. Or there were muffins that had nuts in them, and just like seeing people touch the muffins and then like touch the sliding glass door handle and touch the beach towel. Like I was definitely in my head about certain allergy things at times. Yeah. But the way that I used to be, not the way that I have been. Yeah. And I had a lot of my friends were like, I'm so proud of you. And the birthday girl is one of my dearest friends. She was like, this means the world that you would come. Aww. And I'm like, of course I would come. And she was like, I don't know. Like, and she didn't say this, but the way that I took it away from like LA Danielle would have, like no questions asked. I don't know if Austin Danielle would. Yeah. She actually wouldn't.
But you did.
I did. And then I ate out at a place that I haven't eaten out since before the pandemic, because I was like, okay, we need to snowball this. Like I am going to be me again. Good. Unfortunately I am moving right now. Right. And so I only left the house like 2 or 3 times since being back here, because I'm trying to pack. It's just like a lot to do by yourself. Yeah. And it's so much fun being single. And then sometimes it's not. And most of the time it's fun. But when you have to move your life and problem solve, and like it's so physical while also trying to dose, it's too much for one person. So I've given myself a lot of time to do it, but now I'm living in mess. So I'm just like, I'm not great. Yeah. Several of my best friends from college are in a group chat, and one of them was like, okay, mental health check, like out of 5, how are we doing? And they're all moms, and they all work like these big girl jobs, like big girl jobs. And they were like, oh, I'm a 4. Oh, I'm a 3. Oh, I'm a 2.5. And then they'd explain why. And I'm like, oh, I can't tell them I am a 1 because I'm moving. like they have like actual like traumatic things going on, and she's still a 2.5. I was going to be like, I'm a negative 500. Yeah. My apartment is a mess. My dog has diarrhea. He's bleeding from his butt. Like I had to dose this morning. Like
I mean, those are things. Yeah. And they know you, right? Totally. Like, so it would have been totally fine, to be honest. But
if they listen to this, they will know. Actually, 2 of them are allergy moms. One of them is a tip mom.
Oh, yeah. Wait, is this the one that introduced us? One of them?
No.
Oh, okay. That's a
This is one that we look like twins.
Oh,
like,
okay. I remember.
She is my Hallie she is the Hallie to my Annie. Ah. Yeah. Except she's like a good bit shorter, but we look freakily. I think if we took that 23andMe test,
you'd have a relation
somebody somewhere. Yeah.
That's great.
How are you? Your turn.
Good. Yeah, things are great. Our trip was incredible.
It looked magical. Yeah. Like you guys were, I was like, you are visitcolorado.org's poster family right now.
It's true. We had so much fun and so much adventure. And I think similar to you, and for different reasons, it's the first time we've really been able to do that. I mean, we've taken trips. We've gone home to Louisiana to see family. We've, last summer also went out to California for one of Graham's treatment trips, but like brought the whole family and, spent a couple of days. Like we've done some of that. Yeah. But to go for basically 2 weeks from home and to eat out several times and go to an amusement park. Like we went to Legoland, California, and we're there for 9 hours. Like we've never done that. Yeah.
some sort of illegal substance for that. Like, how did you get through that? Not illegal.
Yeah.
What am I saying?
Yeah,
like some sort of like painkiller.
Yeah.
What am I? A pharmaceutical substance.
Pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I had plenty of wine.
Good.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just felt really, I said it to Mark and we said it to each other several times that like, wow, like we have crossed some sort of threshold, like we have made it to a certain point. And I think there's an allergy component for sure, but I also think age, I mean, Ethan's about to be 4, and having young kids and doing anything, even without allergies, is really challenging. It just, like, for us, we always felt like it was easier to just like do smaller things, to stay home, to invite people to the backyard instead of going out and doing something, and I've loved it and it's been fine. But, parts of me, old me, really missed adventure and being able to just go and be and do. And, of course, we couldn't do it as if we didn't have allergies. We still have allergies to contend with. We still had coolers packed and, snacks in a suitcase and all of the things that you mentioned as well. But we had a little bit more, I don't know, like ease. We had a little more freedom than we used to have because of treatment and where we are with that, and his ability to, be safe with cross contact with his allergens, and just being braver from experience too, like having kind of built up this confidence that like we know how to handle ourselves. And it was really refreshing. It was really nice. And similar to you, I kind of want to snowball. Like I want to keep going. I want to keep doing. And I think just flexing those muscles will make it happen more and more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there were challenges.
Did you guys do treatment?
Yeah.
While you were there?
We did. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, really in our program, you can skip 2 days and like change nothing, is kind of their protocol. Like we don't have to back down unless it's been longer than 2 days, because they say that the body, remembers enough in that short time frame. So we skip for like travel days. We don't dose or do maintenance or any of that stuff. But then the rest of the time we kept up with it because, we don't want to push it back or make it like any longer than it has to be, because it's obviously treatment is really challenging. It's a lot of work. Yeah. So we're like, let's get through it.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And so we kept going and we kept doing treatment. It was like, I was a little worried about the altitude. I was just like, is that going to change something or be weird with his body or like breathing or any of that? And it was fine. And he did fine. I mean, we kind of had to be more flexible with ourselves in terms of like, okay, he might do it a little later and then we may have to stay up a little later, but we're like, whatever, we're on vacation.
Whatever, we're in Colorado.
Yeah. It was just so beautiful there. The boys are so awesome with, adventure and hiking and being in nature. Aww. They really, really enjoyed it. And Mark and I do too. So it was really nice that they both just felt in their element out there.
That is so special.
Yeah. And the heat, bothers them so much here in Austin, and there it just was not an issue. They could hike. I mean, we hiked for hours. We did like a 4-hour hike.
You're like, I can go outside at 3 p.m.
whenever you wanted.
Much less at 11 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, they just didn't seem to get tired. They weren't like super sweaty. Like they just had this energy that they don't have in the heat. And so we just were like, okay, we need to figure something out. We need to like buy a house up there or something and spend half of our time in Colorado, or I don't know, just save up money and each year go for longer and longer in the summertime. I don't know.
Once you guys are out of treatment, like that's a college tuition right there.
Oh,
like
for sure.
You can reallocate. Reallocate for the Colorado fund.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So we're pumped.
I think it's really interesting that you're talking about treatment and like the doors, like it opened this door for you.
Yeah.
I walked away from Cabo feeling like maybe I shouldn't be doing this to myself anymore. Like, is this worth it? Because I am so happy waking up in the morning, having a hot cup of coffee, getting all sweaty, going for yoga, being able to say yes to hikes. Like I didn't have to say no to anything.
Yeah.
That whole 4 days, it was magical. To wake up and do yoga with the entire villa, to wake up and go on a hike, to wake up and go on the catamaran. Like, I never had to say no unless it was something with food where I was like, actually, I'm going to do the ravioli instead. Like, I brought it all this way. I might as well eat it.
Right.
Like, I'm not in a place where I'm like, I want to quit, but it really gave me pause to be like, again, back with the toad thing. Like, I'm not sure if this is helping me or if I'm being boiled alive. Like how much I'm really saying no to. And it's easy to be like, oh, I'm not saying no to that much when I'm in my little apartment with my little dog and it's 1,000,000 degrees outside and you don't want to go outside anyways. But like, life is, what's that quote? I'm reading a novel where she like quotes it multiple times. Like, what will you do with this one wild and precious life? And I'm like, for the past 1.5 years, I have sat inside and white knuckled. Yeah. Like, I will say though, there were a couple times we went to like a bar where people got like a bunch of appetizers for the table and I didn't eat because there was a lot of mole on the menu, where I was like, you're fine. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, the residue's on your water glass, like, and you're fine. Like, you're fine with a lot more than residue. Like,
I was going to say, even the worst thing that could happen was you accidentally take a bite of something that was the mole, and even then you probably wouldn't react.
Yeah. And I think because I was in a different country and because it was only a 4-day trip. Yeah.
I wouldn't have taken a chance in another country.
Well, my doctor was like, don't dose. Like, why? Just enjoy Mexico. Yeah. But it gave me pause for sure to be like, whoa. There were a lot of contributing factors as to why I felt like myself again. But I think not starting the day and the whole half of the day being eaten into pretty much and having no stress. My stress was, I was like, oh no, I forgot my lipstick at the villa, you know?
And some of that is just being on vacation, right? Like, you don't have to like do your normal dishes and your normal laundry. And like, there's so many tasks that are off of your plate. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, maybe it's Colorado. Maybe I'm just like, whatever. And then and then I was talking to a friend and she was like, yeah, but also like you were on vacation.
Totally.
Like, you know, like you didn't have the laundry to do and the school pickups and all the things that happen in your normal life that would happen no matter where you live.
Totally.
You know, so, but I agree that, you know, when you are in a place that, or not doing something like dosing or not having the heat element, like for my kids, like those things
they really wear on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't realize it. I've been thinking a lot about what Alyssa said when we interviewed her and what you even shared with me before she even came on the show, where she was telling you at the conference you all were at, we're like, whoa, like, I don't know if I think that would do more harm than good to have to dose every day.
Yeah.
Just knowing myself. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I never asked myself that question before doing it. I was just like, an opportunity. Like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. So stay tuned. We'll see where I go.
And it's good to just, always be having these little like bits of information that are in your head that you can ultimately like help make your decision whenever you make it.
I think I need to talk to some adult OIT people who have graduated and stuck with it.
And then see like what their life looks like now. Or like, are they glad they stuck with it? And yeah.
But yeah, stay tuned. I think the next time I go in, I'll do an actual peanut, which I'm like, what?
Let me know. I'll be there.
I would love you to be there.
Yes, I'll be there.
Thank you.
Just give me the date and time.
Okay.
I don't know yet. Oh man. So that was a long update.
I really missed you.
I missed you too. And it felt like it was needed. And this is part 2 of back to school. So we've already kind of covered a lot of it, but I feel like once we drop the episode and also whenever I started kind of talking about it, because Graham's actually in school now, we still have that to catch up on. I know.
Cuckoo bananas.
I know. He starts earlier. Yeah. He starts earlier than most with his like kind of year round.
Oh, they're year round.
I mean, it's quote unquote year round. We have longer breaks, like longer fall and spring breaks. It's 2 weeks instead of 1. And then like summer is shorter, but we still had 8 weeks, which is a long time. But like most people have 10 or 12 weeks. But yeah, so he's back in school and a lot has changed with that. So maybe that'll help us like dive into back to school times. So he started last week. This is his first like full week that he's in now, and things are going really well.
Aww.
There's a couple, so we've talked before, like things that are the same, his teacher and his class, which is great. There's a few new students, but like mostly the kids he went to school with last year. And then his teacher is the same, which is great because she already knows all the allergy things. But some changes. Now we want to tell you a little bit about one of our favorite snacks, LK Meat Snacks. Lorissa, the founder, has a mission that's simple but strong: to provide you with meat snacks certified free from the top 9 allergens.
All products are made with 0 sugar and either grass-fed and finished beef or free-range chicken or turkey that taste awesome.
With her own family that lives with food allergies, it's extremely personal for her, and she ensures that the product has intense quality control processes, rigorous certifications, and a top-notch food advisory board, so you can have confidence in what you're eating. And as we both know, Danielle, like having confidence in a food, having that trust in a snack that you're giving to yourself or your family, it is everything.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody to make my food except for me or somebody who's a food allergy mom.
Yep.
And this checks.
Yep. Lorissa is a food allergy mom.
I love it. So if you want all of the flavor without any of the fear, grab some LK Meat Snacks and snack fearlessly at Amazon or lorissaskitchen.com. That's LORISSAS kitchen.com.
And Danielle, I love that they are in Sprouts now because first of all, our Sprouts that I go to is right across the street from Target. So I'm always like, okay, I need an extra allergy-friendly thing at Sprouts. And now they have Lorissa's Kitchen, so adding to cart.
I'm obsessed. I'm not really into the waiting for things to show up on my front doorstep. When I want it now, and now we can go to Sprouts.
He is now sitting at the class table at lunch.
Big table.
The what?
The big table.
Yes. So
my
we had a whole
gosh.
episode, one of our first episodes. If anybody's interested in kind of my thoughts on why last year he sat at the allergy table in quotation marks. Again, it's not like he's sitting in a corner by himself. He was with at least one other kid with allergies every day. And then he was able to like bring people to his table. He never had a problem with it, except for somewhere in the middle of the year, his teacher kind of forgot or like got out of the habit of asking if anybody wanted to sit with him, or like if he like, hey, who do you want to get to sit with you today? Mm-hmm. And so he ended up not for like a week or so having anybody at his table. And then he came to me and told me about that. And I talked to his teacher. And from that point forward, again, like he was totally fine with it.
It's really interesting though that it was just a week. Like, yeah, as somebody who never had an allergy table, had never heard of an allergy table. Mm-hmm. Like there have been a couple of people who've reached out to our Instagram talking like, that was like their whole, it was a huge marker of their childhood in a negative way.
Yes.
Like kind of traumatic.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that in just a week,
yeah,
he brought it to you.
Yeah.
It's like, this is hard. Like this hurts.
And I try really hard. One of my biggest like goals as his mom, especially as a little boy, I feel like other generations of men have felt like they can't say when they're sad or speak out about when they're having any kind of feelings and emotion,
Totally.
right? And it's because it's like a man, you got to be strong and
don't cry.
Yeah, all that.
Don't be a girl.
Yeah, that bullshit, really.
Such bullshit.
Yes. And so I've tried really hard not to like make him girly, which is what I feel like half the world like wants to say when you say these things.
Which is so, I'm like, so there's dumb. The toxicity right there.
Exactly.
Like you mean in touch with your emotions?
Right. Or just like feeling like you can acknowledge it at all. Like I'm his mom, he's 6, he should be able
to tell you. Yeah.
Yes. And so I the whole time when I made this decision in kindergarten, like, hey, he's going to sit at this allergy table. And again, go back and listen to the episode because there's a whole mountain of things that led to that decision. But one of the things that I promised myself was that every once in a while, like every couple months, I was just going to very casually check in with him. Like, hey, how's lunchtime? What's going on? Not like, hey, are you feeling lonely at the table? Like
sad?
Yeah, nothing like that. Like just literally like, oh, what'd you eat? You know, what was your favorite thing at lunch today? Yeah. Oh yeah. Who'd you talk to? You know, just to like gather how he was really feeling about it. And he always was fine until he came to me, he said he wasn't. Anyway, we adjusted. He had people at the table again. And all was good. Well, this year, because of how he's like I mean, he's eating peanuts. Like he's eating 4 peanuts a day now.
Crazy.
And so I was like,
right.
Why would he? First of all, his class is peanut free. So the school is not, but his class is, just because his teacher and I decided, like, between us, that let's one more year at least, like, have everyone not bring that food.
Honestly, like, even if the mom came to me and was like, he eats 4 peanuts a day, like, this is fine. As the teacher, I would be like, nope, it's peanut free. Like I got a lot of plates in the air and we're not adding that one there too.
Exactly. And I think that was kind of the vibe. Like that was kind of what she was saying. And I was like, yeah, great. Love it.
Love it.
Love it. But I still feel like, well, if somebody forgets and brings something, you know, he's a lot more protected to be around it. And now granted, again, he's old enough and smart enough about his allergies where he's never going to grab somebody else's food and eat it. Like he will not do that. But again, just anything's a risk, right? Like a possibility of happening if you're like in close quarters with the allergen. And so kindergarten, I felt like he's still young. Like he has this okay setup at the allergy table. We're going to avoid it. But this year with the protection, I'm like, all right, let's see what he wants to do. So I didn't say like, hey, you can sit at the big table. Cause again, last year it wasn't like a bad to sit at the other. So I was just like, hey, like me and your teacher talked about this. We both think it's okay to sit at the class table if that's something you want to do. If not, no big deal. You just let me know. It'll be your choice. I left it up to him.
I love that.
And he told me, he was like, I don't care. I'm okay at my table. Like he didn't care if he moved, you know?
That's so sweet.
I know.
And like such a kudos to you and to the teacher. Like you made something that truly made him feel not othered.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so, because or else he would have been like,
the big table.
Yeah. But I will say he did decide that he would sit at the big table, and he, like, one of the first things he said after the first day of school was, I sat at the class table at lunch, Mommy. I was like, oh, cool. How was it? It's making me a little teary, because it's like, gosh, you know, it's like, this is such a thing that most people don't even have to like deal with or think about. And it's like, he was like really excited because he got to sit next to anyone he wanted, you know? And
so he doesn't even need to like, there's no like buffer, because why would there be?
Yeah.
And even with the milk too.
Yeah. Because I mean, again, he's in a really good place with that, with treatment. He knows not to eat the food, and he knows if it touches him, he needs to wipe it off. So I feel okay giving him a little more freedom. It's pretty amazing.
I'm so happy for you guys.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm really happy too. And, so beyond that, and then there are a few kind of new teachers and like admin and things that like I wanted to make sure we're up on all his, you know, we talked last episode in the back to school part 1 about like the different documents I made and that were passed out to different people. So just making sure all of that was up to date and like given to the, you know, new teachers, new faces at the school. But yeah, things are good. Things are great, actually.
That's huge.
I know. I'm really happy.
Like you guys, like Colorado beat school. I was like,
I know.
What?
I know. It was like 3 days
the 4th
later.
of July.
Yeah, I know. I know, so fast, but it's good because Ethan will actually now be off for a couple of weeks before he was in a summer program, and then he'll have a new school, or not new school, but new teacher in class and all of that. So he just has a sunflower allergy, but still, I mean, it's anaphylactic. It has an EpiPen, you know, so we'll do a meet the teacher, and I'll have to go through all of the same kind of stuff with Ethan's teacher, but his school will be the same. The admin's the same, so they kind of get it. And that's one thing I think we didn't really touch on in the last episode that I was going to talk about. We talked about like daycare, like babies, and then we talked about like big school, kindergarten and up, but oftentimes there is that like middle area of preschool. And so with Ethan, and kind of talking to you about like the lunch table stuff, I've gotten questions about labeling. Like, did you like label your child like as having an allergy, like whether with like a shirt or a sticker or tags and things on their lunch boxes? So for Graham, he he doesn't like stuff like on him. And I don't really ever want to like put a big label on a kid, especially when they're a little older. But Ethan's teacher last year, and again, he was 2 going in to school last year.
Gosh.
I know. Yeah,
because he's such a riot. He is the ultimate riot. He needs a reality TV show.
He does.
Like the world of Ethan.
He is his own little person, like his own personality, beats to his own drum, but is also like the sweetest, cuddliest. Like, yeah, it's just,
whenever
he's a trip.
I think about Ethan, I think of that monster video where he was like, like,
I need to find that to get out.
Or like the one time that I was over and they weren't asleep already, he like runs up and like gives me a bug. And I was like, it's so nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you.
Can you take this back?
Yeah. That sounds like Ethan. Yeah. But yeah, so they put on the back of his, when he was like the first week of that school, they put a little sticker on the back of his shirt that said like sunflower allergy, EpiPen or whatever, just so that people started to like know his face and associate that. And again, he was so little at that point to where I'm like, he doesn't even know, like he can't read. He doesn't know what this is.
He doesn't know what's on the back of his shirt.
No. And so for me, that was, I can't remember the specific question, but somebody asked me something like that. Like, are you sending your kindergartner with like, I have an allergy t-shirt or anything like that? And I was like, no. I don't personally want to do that to a kid who's of that age. But when they're little, like to me, it's like, yeah, tell everybody, tell the world, do whatever you have to do to make sure that like when they can't adequately explain themselves something about allergy life, that like they're labeled in a way that like people are going to know it without them having to say it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so that was just for the first week and then they stopped?
And then it's a small school. Like everyone kind of knew. Also there, so I think we talked about this last week, but Graham's EpiPen or AviQ follows him around the school. So it goes where he goes. It's a little bit bigger of a school. Ethan, his stays in the office in an unlocked cabinet. So it's not like anybody has to get a key and get in there, but it is like in the cabinet in the front office, which is only steps from his classroom. And sometimes they do go to like the playground and the gym, but that's a policy at their school. Typically I would probably fight back a little bit about that because I really want it to be super close, but I didn't in his school because number one, everything is a little closer, like a little more condensed in their school. And number two, like his teacher, they stay in the class a lot. Like it's a little less moving around. And his teacher had been doing this for a long time. She has allergies herself. Like I just felt really comfortable in my particular position, like in that school at that class, that it was okay. But typically I would advise other people to be like, no, like it should follow the kid around because really seconds can matter, you know?
Totally.
Some people would argue, well, if it follows you around the school, like that's more of a risk of it getting lost or like left somewhere because it's going more places, you know, versus like we always know it's here. And I get that argument too, but I'm like, well, but also like you need to not forget it. Totally. That needs to be a thing. So another thing that I get a lot is questions about substitutes and what we how we handle that. Good. Yeah. So I don't think we talked about that last time, but I'm like, oh wait, that was it. That's in the 504 plan. But so for us, what we did for substitutes is I created kind of with the teacher, I gave her like kind of a cheat sheet on Graham, you know, like everything you need to know about him, his action plan, you know, the FAIR action plan, and the safe snack list, all of that went into like a folder, a little binder, and the teacher labeled it or copied it and labeled it and put it in her sub folder. So she has a folder that like the substitute will look at before they start the day or before they like agree to substitute for that class. And they have to kind of go over it with her. And so Graham has his own little folder like in that packet of sub information. So any substitute teacher who comes has his picture, his name, his information, and all the little extras that we printed out right there. So that would be, I guess, my first piece of advice is make sure that there's something in the 504 plan stating that like a substitute has to be trained and understand your child and their allergies, and then also have like actual documents that live in there. I think every teacher has like, again, like a folder, a handout, something for the sub, to kind of know all the rules of the classroom and stuff like that. So just like make your child a part of that folder.
So when there is a sub, do you know, or it's just like a surprise and you hear about it at the end of the day?
That's another good question. Yeah. No. We have in the 504 plan that I need a heads up. So obviously if she's sick and like that morning, whatever, thankfully we have a good relationship. She probably would text me. I don't think that happened last year, and tell me, but most times she knows when she's going to be out of town. Like when we met at the beginning of the school year and we did, like a training and stuff with the AVQs, which we can talk about, but, she like opened her calendar and was like, okay, I'm going to be out these days. And she's like, you want me to text you the days? And I'm like, sure. Just so I can put them on my calendar and like know in advance that morning, like, okay, just maybe have your phone like a little louder, or like, you know, just in case.
Would you go like into the school and introduce you to the sub, to introduce yourself? Like, hi, I'm Sarah. This is the one. This is the handout. This is my number.
Yeah. Yes. So on the handout, on the sub handout, it has like my contact info and all of that. But yes, I did do that last year with one or two of the subs. I actually had enough time in like my schedule and theirs to sit down with them and kind of not only hand them the information, but also talk to them about the information.
This is so much.
It's
like,
a lot.
There are like moments where you're like, this is just normal. It's just normal. And then there are moments where you're like, wait a minute, this is so much extra than anybody would ever have to think about.
Yeah.
Unless they live this life.
Yeah.
Like big kudos to you and all the other food allergy moms. Just like thinking of all these little things, like it's crazy. And then for in two different schools with two different policies, this is a lot.
I know. It's a lot and it weighs on you.
Totally.
Yeah. And then you have to like pretend like it doesn't, you know,
yeah, you're like, my day's great.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so I don't think I did that for every sub just because there were times when I couldn't make it work. And also I started to gain confidence in the teacher that she was really going to like lay down the law with the sub and be like, these are the rules, these are the things, you know. But I did always make sure that they had my number and that I had the sub's number.
Good. Yeah, because my brain goes a million different directions. It's like a firework. It's like, oh, a sub. What did they bring? Did they know it was a peanut-free classroom before they walked in with whatever they ate?
Yes.
Like, do they know they need to wash their hands after? Like, they went to the teacher's lounge or there was something like there's so many different ways this could go awry.
It's so true. And I mean, obviously you can't ensure that all of those things don't happen. All you can do is like ask and tell and inform. But I feel like the kind of the paperwork and having all of that, and just like if you're listening, like just hearing this now, like make notes, right? And like be like, okay, this needs to go in the plan. This needs to be something I message them about, because you're not going to remember everything, but you can try your best and then kind of live and learn from there. But definitely like having advance notice that the sub is coming, making sure that you have their number and they have yours, and then making sure that like your kid's information is a part of the sub packet that they get when they come in to be a substitute teacher are probably like my top tips for that. And it seems like it's worked.
Okay. We talked a lot about like, this is a lot for you. This is a lot for the teacher. I know that you've mentioned some things in the past where you're like, you need to keep the teacher happy. What does that look like? Or like, what do you have? I know we talked a little bit about it last week, but
yeah. So I love when a teacher gives me like their favorite things list. Like it's like what's your favorite color? What's your favorite snack? What's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite place to shop? Where would you love a gift card to? You know,
what's your favorite type of wine?
Yes. I know on the drinks one, she put Pinot Noir and I'm like, oh, yes, my kind of teacher. I love you. But last year she didn't. And then when I met with her, she's like, I didn't know if I should put it this year, but I really do like to get some bottles of wine. I'm like, girl, put it. I love that. And so
that's
like
so cute.
Looking at that, and it does not have to be a lot. Like I feel like some people, you know, might be thinking or hearing whether I put it on social media or talk on this, like, well, I can't, like every time I go to the school, I can't like pay for a bottle of wine and bring her a bottle of wine. First of all, no one's expecting that. Second of all, none of it is necessary. You don't have to bring anything or give anything at any time. Nobody's expecting that. But for me, I feel like she is having to do some extra work and extra things for my child. Again, he's not a burden. He deserves those things to be done for him. But if I have the means to do anything from write a thank you note, a handwritten thank you note. I've done that many a time.
That's what I was thinking. Like, it doesn't even need to be a thing.
No. And if it is a thing, like she put like sparkling water. I'm like, okay, so you're going up to the school for even something else. Like grab one of your LaCroix in the refrigerator and be like, hey, I'm here for something. Here's drop this off. So like I did little things like that. It wasn't always like a packaged thing that I'm like, here you go. It's teacher appreciation.
Here's this $50 gift card to Marshalls.
No. Like truly like $10. Like I actually one time last year went and got like $10 gift cards. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't just for the teacher. It was for like other things that pop up to Target. And I'm like, yeah, $10 is like not a lot for a gift card, but it's like you get 10 of them. That's $100, right? That I've spent. And then like anything that comes up in life that you're like, oh, I should just like say thank you to this person, or somebody's having a bad day, let me like give them a little like pick me up, or the teacher did something that was super nice or sent me a bunch of texts about this or caught something, allergy wise, then like next time I'm there, I'll be like, I just wanted to say thank you.
That meant
thank you
the world.
So much.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, $10 isn't a lot, but it's a little like happy that she can buy for herself,
Bringing
or
her like one, like, it's almost like a good friend.
Yes.
Like I was drinking a sparkling water, so I brought you one too. Mm-hmm. Or like I stopped at a coffee shop and I know that this is what you usually get. Like
yes.
They may not drink it, but it's so thoughtful.
Yeah.
Saying that, I'm like, but I hate it when people do that for me. Because allergies.
You have allergies,
yes,
right?
But there are like certain people where I'm like, I trust you. I know that you, in a nice way, like threatened people with their lives about the seriousness of this.
Right.
But yeah, if they don't have allergies, like just like, and I got you one too, goes so far.
I agree. Yeah. And I think that it just is one of those things that like you're building this relationship with the teacher, right? You want to let them know that you're grateful and thankful for all of the like extra love and safety measures that they're taking and doing to keep your child safe. And so, I mean, even if it's just saying thank you or that handwritten note, it's something to start developing this relationship and just the approach to like how you talk to them or ask them questions, or when something happens that like maybe didn't go as planned, like how you handle that is huge in making sure that you're just like building the relationship rather than being like an annoyance or like degrading the relationship by like making them feel like they're under a microscope.
Yeah, totally. I was obsessed with the lemon thing that you showed on your Instagram.
The lemon thing?
The lemon and the AviQ.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I have never done that.
Oh, wow.
We should do that next time.
Oh my gosh, we should.
I have so many expired
Me
EpiPens
too.
like from like 2020, 2021. Like I've never done that. I've used the trainer.
Yes.
But I thought that was so cool. And I thought it was so interesting that the feedback that you got from teachers, not only educators, but nurses being like, I've never had the opportunity to do something like this.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. So I did this last year and I wanted to do it again this year because, again, like that muscle memory, right? Like after a long time, you're going to forget. Even just using the trainer that comes with the AviQs, that's great because you're practicing the like, okay, wait, it does take a little bit more effort than I thought to pull that cap off, those sort of things. But then the actual like injection into a piece of fruit. So we got like, I brought an old piece of fruit and expired EpiPens of like multiple years. I don't use the one that's just last year because they actually say that EpiPens are usually good for like 2 years. So I'm like, well, that's a good backup to keep like the last year's AviQ. But the ones that are 2 years plus, which I thankfully have a lot of them that I haven't had to use. And you just like use them as if you were going to use them on a person, but instead you're injecting them into a piece of fruit. And there is like a pressure, like it is a different feel when I do it.
Yeah, my doctor told me that. Like when I first started OIT, we practiced with the trainer after my first appointment. And I was like, to be honest, I've never really practiced with the trainer. Like maybe once when I first got prescribed, but he was like, it will feel a little different. Like if you need to use this, it does feel a little different. Yeah. And I was like how? I need to bring in like a grapefruit
Yeah.
And okay, we'll do that.
We'll do it
next time.
Yes, because it does feel different, and you can hear if you go to my social media and like watch. I think I put it in the stories, like the real like audio from when it happened. But like you can hear the teacher. She goes, "Wow, whoa." Like, like because she didn't expect for it to feel the way it felt, which again is like, you don't want the first time that she's using it in real life to be like, for her to be like alarmed or like, oh, like you want her to be like, yep, I remember, this is how it feels. This is like how it's supposed to feel. So she really thought, and I really think it's like an invaluable thing to do, that it can help you feel more comfortable whenever you need to use it for real. And just, like get an idea for like, this is the power of this device, because I mean, it's not like it's crazy. It's not like you shoot a gun and it like cocks back and hits you in the shoulder, like, like that. It's not quite like that, but like it definitely feels different.
Yeah. I can't even whiten my teeth without reading the instructions 5 times. Like again, anxiety girly, but like, this is a big, like, it is invaluable.
Yeah. And
so you did that with the nurse too?
Yeah. So she was in the meeting too. Okay. And so they both kind of thanked me, like, this was really helpful. Oh, nice. Also, side note about the nurse. So I didn't realize this because she and I hadn't really like sat down together more than like when I talked to her the first time before the start of last year, until this time. We had talked, but not just like sit down. And she was like, hey, I wanted to actually say thank you, because after we talked last time, it rang some bells in my head, like the things that I had written in his little notes about like, okay, if something touches him or if he eats like, something cross contact wise, like here are the things that could happen. Like when I was kind of going through like the nitty gritty details, she was like, some things just like stuck out to me as like, wait a second, like for my kid, he like gets really red after he eats this, or like, cause I think I talked to him about like oral allergy syndrome and like just some of the other things too. And again, she's a nurse, like she went to school. She has a nursing degree. But even my sister, who's a pediatric nurse practitioner, will tell you like, you don't like only people who specialize in allergy truly understand allergy. They might understand how the human body works. They might understand what happens when you're having anaphylaxis, but they're not understanding allergies. Like they don't understand how eating a certain food can lead to this, or how to introduce foods, or like, they don't know those details. You know what I mean? And she's like, to be honest, I used to think you like use the EpiPen only if you're like turning blue and like can't breathe and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, no. And like, she's like, and I also noticed some of these things in my kid that like seemed off, and he just never seemed like he wanted to eat certain things. And she's like, it just made me think like something's going on here. Well, then she said not long after that, he ate like a banana or something and had full blown, like full body hives. Wow. And she immediately knew like, oh gosh, this is definitely an allergy thing, because our conversation was still kind of ringing in her brain. Wow. And then she took him to the allergist, and he has like several allergies, I think to like bananas, cashews, sesame, like something like that. And has a prescription for epinephrine now and all of that. So now like the nurse is an allergy mom, which I would never wish on anyone, of course, but it is one of those things that you're like, okay, now she's dived into this community beyond just her nursing degree and really understands allergy, because her own son's life depends on it. And so it was a little bit of like first of all, I'm so glad she figured it out and nothing bad happened to her kid. Totally. Second of all, I'm glad that like there's somebody with that really firsthand knowledge at the school.
That's so crazy.
But it just goes to show like talking about it's really important. Like spreading awareness and like sometimes, again, we talked about this last time, you think that you're possibly going to be a burden or like, putting all this on somebody else and you feel really bad. But like oftentimes it leads to good things.
Talking about it is so important. I'll shout her out. All You Can't Eat on Instagram, a recent follow. And we just have like seeing her life. She has like an allergy page and then she has her normal page. And I'm like, I really needed somebody who I could see myself in, because a lot of these allergy accounts, I don't follow them and I don't see myself in them. They're like, they're just not me. They're not for me. They're not the way I think. They're not the way that I identify. They're not my taste. But this girl lives in LA. she's in PR. She loves to travel.
Yeah.
I would love to raid her closet. Like if we could closet swap, like she's a girl in college who are like, we're going to be great roommates.
Yeah.
I don't know her, but we're going to be great roommates. Like she's going to be my friend. I just like get that vibe from her, and seeing her allergy page has been very healing, similar to the way Talking Alyssa has been, where I'm like, oh shoot, like we have a lot of similarities and you're not your allergies. Like it allows me to look at her the way that I sometimes can't see myself. Like she is so much more than her allergies.
Yeah.
But then like seeing her deal with a scary situation. She has a sesame allergy. There was a sesame seed in her meal that she like ate half of it and then saw it in the second part of her meal.
Yeah.
And was like, didn't have a reaction because she didn't eat it. But like, that's something that would happen to me. And I would be like, maybe I wouldn't vocalize it, but here I probably would, of being like, why do I have to go through this? Like, why can't I just like be a normal, pretty cool girl?
Yeah.
Full time, not part-time, and an allergy girl part-time. And so talking about it is so important.
Yeah.
Like it never ceases to amaze me where you feel so alone or so just like nobody else has to deal with this. Nobody else has to understand. Nobody else has to dive into this.
Yeah. And then when you feel seen
gosh.
and understood, it just, it's like this like moment of levity. Like you feel, I don't know. Yeah. You feel seen.
Yeah. No, she messaged me this morning. I'm like obsessed with the Olympics. And she was like, wait a minute, you were a horseback rider growing up too. Like, are we the same person?
Oh
and I'm like, yeah,
so
we
funny.
are.
I love that.
But yeah, it really, talking about it is so important because aside from not feeling so alone or like, okay, I'm not the only one, it just lets you see yourself for more than your allergies, which is sometimes hard. Back to the boiling pot water thing. Like it's hard to sometimes remember, like, even though this takes up so much of my brain space, it's not me.
There's so much more to you.
Yeah. This is not my whole personality.
No.
Yeah.
No. I think you do a better job than you think.
Oh,
of that.
thanks. Maybe it's just like my internal dialogue.
Probably a lot of it, but I mean, it's still a thing.
But
like, you still wrestle with it every day.
Having the nurse there who like gets it.
Yeah.
I can imagine. This is my version of that, you know, where you're like, oh my gosh, you get it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One last thing that I remember coming up is, and I also got an email from my doctor's office, my allergist about the forms and them being signed by doctors. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So all schools probably, but definitely public schools need a allergy action plan that is signed by a doctor for them to be able to keep the medication, like a medication form usually, and then a fair action plan on top of that. So 2 things that need to be signed by the doctor. So just if you haven't started school yet and that's coming up, instead of starting the first day and trying to bring your medication like on the first day, save yourself the trouble. Number one, it's like a chaotic, crazy thing when it's the first day of school. I mean, everyone's taking the pictures and hugging the parents, and it's just a lot, bringing the school supplies, all of that. And so you want one last thing. So I would say try to do everything beforehand, like before the start of school, including getting your doctor to sign those forms, and they can take a while. So like send them in to email you the doctor's office and say, hey, I need my updated fair action plan signed, and make sure you request from the school any kind of like medication. Usually when you're enrolling for the kindergarten or the first year that you're at that school, they're going to ask you like, do you have any medical needs that require medication at the school? And then you would get that from them. But if not, request it. Email those to the doctor, and then the doctor can actually, your allergist can sign, do all of that before you even start school. And that way, like day one, they can accept that epinephrine legally and keep it at the school. I would like to think that they would never be like, you can't keep the epinephrine here, even if the form's not signed, but you don't want to even test it, right? Like, let's just like get it all sorted out. So that's something I'm not sure I really thought through before. Just I was thinking of all the other things, and so making sure that like not only are the forms up to date and signed, but also like the epinephrine itself, if it expires throughout the year, that's going to be a whole process.
Totally.
So if there's any way to get, like if your insurance works to where you can get a prescription that lasts like the entire school year, that would just like save yourself some trouble. And if you're not using insurance and you go through TeleRx, which is one of our awesome sponsors, you can get Epis prescribed and like sent to your doorstep the next day. And when they come like that, generally you have like a year and some change on that prescription, like expiration dates. So that could be a good way too, to like get an extra set, hand those to the school, and you're good to go. Now it's time to tell you about a company we're really excited about. TeleRx ensures you always have access to an EpiPen. Effortlessly request a prescription online and order an EpiPen for next day delivery. The 100% online process takes minutes and is free of videos, photos, and lengthy forms. And it gets better, Danielle. There are no membership fees or insurance complications.
Okay, also rest assured that TeleRx ships temperature-sensitive medications in insulated packaging, which you kind of need if you live, I mean, for us in Texas.
Anywhere in the South.
Anywhere in the South and this time of year.
It's important to make sure that the medicine actually works effectively.
Yeah, from the jump. Explore this selection of over 100 medicines for the next day delivery and use the code EpiPod to take 20% off. TeleRx is on a mission to make access to essential medicines simple, convenient, and affordable. Visit telerx.club/EpiPod. Or if you're like me and you forget things a lot, putting it in your calendar now.
Yeah.
That way you're not even wondering subconsciously like, oh, when does that expire? When does that expire? And
yes.
Either it's weighing on your mind or you forget and you're in a dangerous spot. So I love that.
Yeah. Or if you're like a year out from starting your kid in kindergarten, like do it now, you know, like set that a reminder in your phone now. Like, okay, I'm in June. I need to like request all the forms, or, you know, July, whenever, or even at the end of even at the end of like the school year before, you could do it like before they go out for summer break.
You have the mind of an engineer sometimes. I'm like, whoa.
Maybe it's being married to one.
Yeah, maybe it's Mark's rubbing off on you after this many years together. Okay, on behalf of all the food allergy moms listening, thank you so much for sharing the things that I'm sure some of them you learned the hard way.
Yeah.
So this is so valuable, and I'm so grateful that you give this time, especially with like, you have a lot of plates in the air today specifically. So
yes,
thank you from all of them through me to you.
Oh, thank you.
For our Q&A this year, LOL. No, for our Q&A today, we're going to do rapid fire, and they're going to be on theme for school.
Love it. And these are brought to you by InchBug, which, speaking of school, great for school. They have customized labels that are waterproof, stick on anything. And for back to school time, I mean, they're perfect. Like, you want to make sure the name is on there, the allergy is on there. And they have some really good deals. And again, you can put everything you're allergic to, phone numbers, contact information. It's really a good thing. And we have them on everything for us.
And they have allergy specific ones too.
Right.
Like the ones that you can customize, but then they have allergy specific ones that you can just keep around the house and slap on extra things. Founder is an allergy mom herself.
Yep.
But she did all of this before she was an allergy mom, which is crazy.
Yeah. So awesome that she cares about the community even before she was in it.
She went from being an ally to, just kidding, I'm an ally for myself.
Yes.
So thank you, InchBug.
Yes, thank you so much. And there's a code in our show notes for some percentage off.
Yes. Rapid fire, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Number 1, how to ensure that bus drivers, the staff, etc., are properly aware of the severity of allergies.
Yeah. I think, again, having like a quick 1-page document, similar to what I talked about last time, that lists out, has their picture, lists their name, their information, and kind of some quick like signs and symptoms to look out for. Making sure that the bus driver has that is probably the best thing. And it's, in terms of like severity level, I would say just don't be afraid to like tell them exactly what has happened in the past or what could happen. Like, make sure you're using words like life-threatening.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The word life-threatening is what tips it over from being like, oh, haha, what I saw in that movie once.
Right.
To, somebody, this would be on me if the worst happened. Like, absolutely. Tell me more, you know?
Exactly.
Life-threatening is what I feel like the most helpful without telling a horror story and then getting myself all whipped up and them all whipped up and then everybody's afraid and then it's like, whoo, damper on the day.
Yeah.
Or the meal.
And in terms, so Graham does not ride the bus, but if he did, I would make sure that he had epinephrine with him on the bus. So he doesn't self-carry, but we would have to reevaluate that. We'd either have to like have another set that stays in his book bag and then a set maybe that walks around school with him. But yeah, I would say I would work out some situation where he had epinephrine on the bus, even if it was 10 minutes, like from the school to the house.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You need it.
Epinephrine. So making sure that you have like an insulated something, which are epi bags that we love that are insulated are also, there's a code in our show notes for that. But having some sort of insulated bag that is carried on the bus and having the bus driver be aware that and using the correct language. Those are my tips there.
Okay. How do you decide if a 405, what? That's the interstate in LA. How do you decide if a 504 is necessary?
I think only like each person can decide, but my thought is like, why not? It doesn't have to be big, bad, and scary. I mean, it feels like, oh, this is a legal document and, you know, all these things and we have to have a meeting. But like at the end of the day, like if there's only a few things you're worried about, if you don't want it to be this big, like long pages and pages, it doesn't have to be. If there's like 3 things that you think are the most important thing for your child, slap those down on a piece of paper, request the meeting, have people sign off, and it's done. And again, everybody's personal preference. If you really, really think that like the teacher and the school have got it all figured out and you can just have a kind of verbal conversation and your kid is good and safe, like no judgment, great. Like I think that's fantastic. I just don't see why not. Like I don't see why you wouldn't use something that exists to have like another layer of not necessarily protection, because it is just a piece of paper, but like everybody has to acknowledge that they've read it and they see it and that they understand it. And like, God forbid something happen, you have that
to stand on. Totally.
So, I mean, again, it's not necessary, but it is an option and one that you can use and it can only help, you know?
Totally. Okay. In the same vein, did you need a lawyer to write the 504 or is it something that we can do ourselves?
You can do it yourself.
Love it.
Yeah. I wouldn't hire a lawyer at all. It's not a legal document in that way that it has all the like, and therefore, and section 5, you know, like it doesn't, sometimes it is if they have their own kind of format, but it really doesn't have to be. Like it can be as simple as a Word document listing things out. And then again, they might like copy and paste into their kind of more formal school document that they use, or they may not. They might just like attach your document and say like, this is his 504, which is kind of what they did. Graham also has a IEP, individual IHP health plan, something like that, which is, if he didn't have a 504 plan, that's what they would use. He just has both.
Yeah.
And you can Google these terms and stuff too, for more information. But again, like it's just you explaining what your child needs to be able to learn in the classroom without any kind of like barriers. So for him, the barrier would be like, he can't do a normal activity like eating safely unless these things are in place. Like he can't,
the craft that is,
he can't learn safely, and safely meaning not just his like physical body, but like mentally, like if he's nervous and worried about like the craft that we're doing because it's an egg carton and he's allergic to eggs, which he's not anymore, but you know what I mean? Like then he's not going to have the same experience or opportunity as the kid next to him who has no care in the world about the egg carton.
The way that I would have never clocked an egg carton.
And they use them all the time.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure recycling free. If you gave me a peanut box, I'd be like, I'm calling out sick. Good night. I'll see you next year in 2nd grade. And
when you think about it, it's like that these kids, like some of them are probably carefree, but others may not be. And like you're asking them to just, I mean,
stuff it down.
Yeah. Some people have described it like, do you think the kids in class would feel safe if there was like a ticking bomb in the class with them? Like they might be a little nervous and not study and like learn as well.
That's such a perfect way to describe it. That's how I explain eating out.
Yeah.
Or like, you know how much I hate Chick-fil-A. how they're like, oh, but we're allergy friendly. Like, we don't have peanuts. And I'm like, yes, you do. And they're like, oh, but we removed the protein from the oil. And I'm like, really? So if you gave me coffee creamer at the coffee shop and it said arsenic creamer, but we've removed the rat poison, the protein of the rat poison, you're going to be great. I'd be like, I'll take it black. No, thanks. Yeah. It's like, what?
Yeah. I mean, and some people are okay with that. Totally. Like are fine with it, but like, I can totally see and understand why you wouldn't be.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the 504 plan is really just there to ensure that everything that happens from the time your child gets there to the time they leave is safe, but also like constructive to their ability to learn and just be a part of the class the way everybody else can.
This is another one where I'm like, I would have thought of that until it was time. Do you request to know what the cleaning supplies are, or do you supply some?
So that's a good question. Now I don't do any of that. When he went to, when he was like 3 in a pre-K program, I didn't ask about the cleaning. So I don't think I like specifically was like, here's cleaning supplies, because we had never run into any issues. Now that said, I do know people that like I've become friends with that I follow that their kid has reacted to like a cleaning supply. So in that sense, like I would, or the same person, their child has a coconut allergy, and like coconut is in tons of like soaps and things. And so they bring their own soap like everywhere they go. And with Ethan, I mean, sunflower seeds, is oil, but like he hasn't really reacted to oil, so I haven't worried about it. So him, I haven't ever done that with. With Graham, he was less about like allergies, worrying about anaphylaxis, but his skin, he went through a phase where it was just so sensitive to any kind of like harsh perfumes or like, heavy detergents and things. And so for one of his years when he was kind of going through like a flare moment and whatever was happening in his body, I did bring our own labeled like Graham soap, like a pumper bottle that I got on Amazon or wherever, and filled it with our safe soap and brought it to school. Again, this was like a smaller, like 8 people in his class, like 5 classrooms.
This is like the like perfect like sanctuary that you were talking about last time.
Yes. And so I think that would be harder to do in kindergarten, but it could be totally done. I think my advice to that person would be, that might be one of the things that I would suggest letting go, like not worrying about and not quote unquote bothering the school with. You're not a bother. If you have to do it, it's no problem at all. But if your child has not reacted, like if you have lived your life and gone about the world, washing your hands in public restrooms and, sitting at tables that were cleaned with who knows what, and not had a problem, I would probably not worry about it.
And like less so for the school's problem. You know me, I'm sour, you're sweet. We're the Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll be a bother all day long. But more like, don't bother your mind, and you're already shouldering so much.
Yeah.
If it's allowed to be something, even a feather would make a difference in what you have to carry every day.
Yeah. I
feel that way a lot. And I'll ask my doctor, Dr. Silvers, often, like something specific. I've asked him about cleaning things in the past, and it's very similar to what you said. He was like, you've never had a problem.
Yeah.
You are allergic to peanuts and tree nuts. That would be so rare to be in a cleaning product. And if it was, you're not eating it. I'm still not concerned. Everybody is different, but this is his advice to me specifically. Like, I, as your doctor, am not concerned if something is on your skin. If you're going to get a reaction that I don't think would be life-threatening, like you would wash it with something else, like take that off.
Take that off your worry plate.
Yeah. Like I've asked him that about like cleaning supplies or like contact reactions, just like, something being on a surface.
Yeah.
It's like you've gone your whole life with things being on the surface.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. Okay. I have one last one for you. Okay. And there's like several in this that would live all on the same plate, but a lot of moms talking about anxiety and like how to manage their own anxiety. But here's one specifically that I feel like recaps them all. I have overwhelming anxiety about sending my child off to pre-K for the first time ever. So I think just this like the kid's not having the anxiety, you've taken the steps, or you will be taking the steps, like you've done all that you can do, but you are still overwhelmed with anxiety. Has that ever happened with you?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked before about how, like, I certainly have anxiety, and lately I feel like, you know, on our mental health episode, I kind of shared that, like, I think I'm still on the hunt, which I haven't done for a therapist. I know. But I overall am not like an overly anxious person, like day to day, even when it comes to the allergy things. Like, I have my moments, but I'm not generally overwhelmed by it, like constantly all day. That said, I mean, school's a really big deal. I think what helped me in that way, which won't help this person necessarily, but like when Graham was in school, daycare, when he was an infant, like I went back to work as a like reporter on TV when he was 13 weeks old.
Sarah, that's insane.
I know. And it haunts me to this day.
Like not haunting way, just like that your body, you were able to go from that to like zip it up in 13 weeks and like be full
on
Sarah
television.
On television again. Like that's crazy.
It's crazy that the United States expects that of women.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's absolutely absurd, but it happened. I did it.
Here nor there.
And so that was before we didn't find out that he had allergies, right? Until he started eating food more around 6 months. Now, granted, there were signs before, and we've kind of talked a little bit about that, but like we didn't know. So he was in school from 13 weeks old till 6 months old before I realized that there was like a major thing, horrible, scary thing that could potentially happen to him. And so I think having already been like in a school, I wasn't like overwhelmed with the sense of like, I'm sending my child to school.
It wasn't like
he was already there.
This was our way of life and now it's this, and they're polar opposites.
And it's like, yes, life did change. It was this tidal wave effect of like, okay, now there's so much more I need to be worried about. But like, it wasn't like he was home for 3-4 years and then all of a sudden I'm sending my allergy kid out into the world without me. That said, it's still like going to kindergarten is still a huge new thing because like, again, it's a bigger school. It's like, you know, more kids and more factors all around you all the time. It's, you know, traveling to different like PE and music and whatever with all these different teachers. Like there are so many new things. And I did have lots of like shower cries and nervousness about it. But I think what I did to combat that more than anything else was to like go ham on the prep, like on the getting myself ready and prepared and getting the teachers ready and prepared and putting together all these like forms and documents and just getting like so uber organized to where I was like, I am as strong as I can be. Like my kid is as ready as he can be. My like ducks are as in a row as they can be. And just then having to accept that like I've done everything I can.
Yeah.
And kind of just jump in like head first.
And once you, I'm sure, get into a role with it, like every year there have been new hurdles, but now, like you were saying with Colorado, like maybe it's a lot of it was experience, but it's like we can handle these.
Yep.
Your confidence has been built. So like pre-K may feel really scary right now, but by 3rd grade, it's not going to be so scary anymore.
And maybe, you know, I don't know where people are in their journeys with school right now, but like I have talked to people who they didn't plan to send their kid to school or they were nervous to send their kid to school, like kindergarten wise or daycare wise, like they kept him home because of allergies. But I talked to one lady who said that she actually decided to send her kid to a like part day, like a half day, a couple days a week program before school, not just to get them ready and like in the zone of, okay, what is going to a school or what is leaving my mom and dad for the first time, but also to like kind of practice herself with like the anxieties around allergies and the paperwork that needs to be done and like all of those things. So like baby stepping your way there instead of like going from 0 to 100, like nothing to kindergarten. Like if you still have time, like if you have young babies, like maybe consider like a little Mother's Day Out program, like these kind of smaller, more controlled environments first. And that way you're feeling a little bit better by the time kindergarten comes
Baby
around.
steps.
If it's a possibility for your family, of course. Like, that's not always possible.
And I've like from the adult allergy kid who had been through it all, like I've said this before, like if I had an allergy child, I don't know if I would be able to do anything except for homeschool. Like I would be a saran wrap parent. But I know from being the kid who was not saran wrapped, sometimes to a fault, I still get confidence and lean on who I was in school growing up.
Right.
And
how you were able to take care of yourself.
Exactly. How I learned, again, sometimes the hard way, unfortunately, but like I will still, as a 32-year-old, will like touch peanut oil, like not touch peanut oil, but like somebody has been eating something. Sure. I don't realize they've been eating something. And then I touch their hand or whatever. They're like, oh my gosh, I just had a PB&J. 32-year-old Danielle still thinks back to second grade Danielle and how she learned the lesson. Like, it's not going to be a big deal if you go wash your hands. Like, don't touch your eyes. Remember how bad that went.
Yeah.
So I really think, I guess, to the moms who are feeling like the overwhelming amount of anxiety, just find comfort in knowing that your food allergy child, yes, you're going to get confidence from these years of experience and taking the baby steps and whatever, but it is so important that your child gets that same opportunity to learn what that's like to do from baby steps from grade school into high school. And by the time they go to college or are living on their own, like you have really well prepared them and they're going to have so much confidence in themselves to take good care of themselves. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful for an anxiety portion, but for my brain, it's like, if you give me a reason, like this is really hard and I'm going through it because my college age child needs this from kindergarten itself. Like, I think that that's helpful to just have more clear, like it's a purpose, not just like I'm drowning for no reason.
Right. No, totally. Yeah. That's really helpful. And it makes me feel better. Yeah. Knowing that like, even when I feel like I've protected him, like all that I can, like he's still going to have to navigate things on his own. And that experience is only going to like help build him and help him build confidence to handle things in the real world as he gets older.
And like, this is the last note that I'll say. I know I've said that now a few times, but you already have like the proof is in the pudding. You already have the proof. You already have the pudding. Like in your Instagram earlier this week, you showed Ethan and he spotted a peanut shell in your backyard. And that's not even your peanut allergic child. Like you have done such a good job that 4-year-old monster is recognizing this could be a possible issue for my brother. I'm going to go get my mom. I'm going to show her. Then we're going to wash our hands. Like you've already done such a good job. Like they're going to be such experts. Yeah, they already are.
Yeah. I think, practice just helps in every way, shape, and form. So the more kind of things that they've experienced, the more times you've said little things, in again, not a big scary way, just in this is the way it is. This is what we're going to do. Like, it does help them. And I was so proud of Ethan.
I was so proud of him too.
He was like concerned, cause sometimes like we have had to, they're brothers and they fight. And so like, not too long ago, at one point, Ethan like picked a bunch of grass. Like we were on like a mountain bike ride and he or a hike and he like picked up a bunch of grass and like threw it at Graham. Oh, no. But like in like I'm messing with my brother way, he wasn't thinking of like Graham is really allergic to like basically all grasses. Oh, no. And he does get like itchy and sneezy if that's like in his face, And I was like, Ethan, no, like, buddy, he's allergic to that. And like, he couldn't connect because he thinks allergies like food. And so like, he's 3, like this is so much for his little brain to understand. He was 4. He'll be 4 in September.
Oh my gosh, he's 3?
Yeah.
He's so funny.
I know. I think he plays up in age a little bit because he has an older brother. Right. But yeah, like, so there's all those little learning moments where you can like sit down, you can tell him in the moment, but then also like sit down and talk to him later about stuff like that. And it helps them protect each other, protect themselves. And it's all, we're just doing the best we can.
Is with environmental things, is that something that you would ever do like slit for Graham? Or is that like eventually going to fade? Like, have they
he does do slit.
Oh, for environmental?
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And actually that's a story for another day, but we learned some things because we didn't even talk about Graham's last appointment in this episode.
Gosh.
So we'll save that maybe for next time.
Yeah.
And maybe do like more of a treatment update for him. But
yeah, because I'll have the treatment update. He'll have the big, yes. We have so much.
Yes, because there is some stuff I found out about his environmental things that was kind of disappointing. So that'll be a teaser for next time.
Okay, well, we're going to turn off the cameras now because we both got to go, but I want to know what the disappointing was now. I can't wait till next time.
I won't make you wait, Danielle.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I hope that part 2 was equally as helpful. Good luck to all the moms out there and dads who are figuring this out. And also if there's any like college age kids who are going and figuring that out, I mean, that's a lot to do on your own. Yeah. So good luck.
Good luck. And you guys are doing so great.
Thank you. She's our cheerleader. You're our mom cheerleader.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
You're the cheerleader for the moms.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks for joining us and we'll see you next week.
See you next Tuesday.